Home Depot better speed up that training because Redfin is forecasting a great housing reset. The real estate brokerage projects that next year, income growth will outpace home price growth for the first time since the Great Recession. So people will have more money, right, to buy a house? Well, at the same time, Redfin predicts mortgage rates will dip closer down to 6%. Although, of course, for Gen Z and young families, affordability is still a tall mountain to climb. So what does this reset really mean for buyers, sellers, and the entire housing market moving into 2026? Joining me now, Jason Haber, co-founder of the American Real Estate Association and Compass Real Estate Agent. He's got a pulse on every corner of the market. Well, let's hit all corners here. What does the Great Reset mean to you when you hear about that?
It's really encouraging. You know, it's been a tough few years in the housing market because affordability has been out of reach for so many buyers out there. You've had this tsunami of not just high interest rates, but also really low supply. Part of that is people were locked into their homes. They basically didn't want to give up the great mortgage rate that they had. It's kept supply down. We haven't built enough housing. As your audience knows, they're the smartest audience in cable TV news. They know we don't have enough housing stock out there. And so when you put all these forces together, it's been a huge problem. And I think we're finally going to see some relief ahead in 2026 across the country.
Michael Aroney, who was at the top of the show from State Street, had said that because of the big, beautiful bill and some of the implications, people will have a better, tax refund. They will come into money. Do you expect to see some of that coming into the housing market? And again, will there be enough inventory?
Well, we think it'll be a strong spring market. The question is going to be, what's the inventory situation going to look like? What kind of new housing will come on the market, and what will the resale market look like? There are still some questions about the inventory because we're not building enough in this country. But Americans should have more money to put to work into the housing market. So that's definitely encouraging. We weren't saying that last year and the year before.
I want to shift your compass to New York City because in about 20 days, Zohran Mamdani is going to take office as the brand new mayor. He has made affordability and housing a very, very important cornerstone of all that got him elected. It resonated with people. You talk about rent, and this still plays into we need to build more. The average rent, and this is really quite stunning, and it almost like hits you in the stomach here. The average rent in New York City is now up 13% from a year ago to $5,686. What can he do about that?
Right. Well, Liz, he perfectly diagnosed the problem, which is affordability. My concern is that his prescriptions for the problem will actually only make affordability more scarce and thus drive rents higher and higher. There have been actions taken by the local city council when they took them a year and a half ago. I went to the steps of City Hall. I said, rents in a year from now will be the highest they've ever been. Guess what? Rents are now the highest they've ever been.
Okay, so what should he do? This is what gets people crazy. Yeah. What is the solution here? And it's easy to say build more. Okay, there's the whole NIMBY crowd, and then the banana crowd, build absolutely nothing anywhere near me. Right. I mean, come on, what is the answer? You're so smart. You went to Columbia. Let's go.
Well, I put my urban planning hat on. So you're right. It is not just about building more supply. We have 50,000 units that are rent stabilized right now that are just sitting off the market, that are not being rented because of HSTPA, New York State law of 2019, which made it economically unaffordable for landlords to renovate their own units and then bring them back onto the market. You need reforms to that law that allow those 50,000 units to come back onto the market. That will make a huge impact. But right now, we have policymakers working against the very people that they claim to be helping. The working class people of New York are being disserved by the elected officials who have passed HSTPA, the FAIR Act. Now they're looking at doing the COPA bill in the city council next week. These are just constraining the affordability crisis and making rents go higher and higher every year.
We've got to run, but do we have to endure another crisis a la the pandemic so that prices go down?
No.
Will these prices go down?
I will tell you this, Liz. In New York, this is a government-made housing crisis. And it will take smart people talking to policymakers to get them to move the needle and change their plans because right now we keep going down this path. The New York City and the rest of the country will just become more and more unaffordable.
On that happy note, happy holidays, Jason.